So I just want to go ahead and start the meeting since we know everyone is going to be coming on, so they can just jump in. And so the first item is just reviewing our minutes. That'll be the first item on our agenda next month. And then the next is our proposed ordinance allowing, so first, okay. So the next item is allowing beehives in residential neighborhoods. And did everyone read that? And is there any discussion on that? I know several years ago, we talked about it, the Green Team talked about it. I don't know, did we ever bring it to the council, Mr. Barnes?
No, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't. This is a Green Team initiative again. This is being led by the Green Team. They are proposing this. So the draft that you got, I made up from other communities that have it, and I've sent it to Sue Ellen so that she can wordsmith it and put it in the right formats completely for next week. But essentially, this would allow beehives in backyards. You know, with the regulations that it stipulates in there, with having a barrier potentially, can't be so, you know, it has to be so far from a building, so far from a lot line, so that everybody's protected around them. And it limits the number. They have to be registered with the state of Maryland and follow the state guidelines. And so I tried to build in everything, all the safeguards that we needed, and still accommodate what the Green Team is hoping. You know, I mean, it's most important to have bees in the environment because they pollinate, and without them, lots of things can't happen. So I don't know that we'll have a bunch spring up. Yeah, I believe Eco City Farms always had one, and if I remember right, Mayor, didn't Barnes's over on 49th have one?
Someone else.
Great big backyard that they had where they moved to Washington.
Yeah, they sure did.
Yeah,
and bats.
Yes, they were on the Green Team.
But let me ask you this. I remember this from the last time, and it might be a issue anyway. But remember, there was supposed to be an inspector that came by just in case the beehive inspector or the county inspector. Do you remember, Hillary, there's supposed to be some inspector that comes by to inspect the beehives. Of course, there probably won't be, but.
I'm sure the state probably has that, but our code enforcement officer is our person that would be doing the inspection to make sure that it meets the requirements and before they issue the license for it. So
I saw that. I was like, yeah, will he want to inspect beehives? But okay.
Well, I don't know that he would, you know, go and do an inspection of the hive itself, but he would make sure that they had the right number, the right distances, those kinds of things. And
then also there was a type of bee that they're not supposed to have. So will the code enforcement officer have to go through a specific training, or will he just know what that bee looks like? Is that your hand? Oh no, that's my cursor.
Yeah, no, it's me. My internet connection's not so great, so I thought if I turn my camera off, it might be better. But I think the same way there are master gardeners, I think some of the master gardeners are also like have completed this sort of like, there's master gardeners that are like Baywise, and they can do the Baywise inspections of people's yards and certify. I think some of them can get certified to also inspect residential bee hives, like apiaries. And I think, and so they would look at.
Right. In the ordinance, that's what it says. That any applicant has to submit with evidence a beekeeping educational course program of minimum 8 hours of instruction has been had, and that has to come from an officer of the Maryland State Beekeepers Association or a certified master beekeeper. So not a gardener necessarily, Councilperson person.
Right, no,
tested.
it's a separate certification, but a lot of the
Yes.
master gardeners go through the
Yes.
Baywise program, or they go through the beekeeping
Yeah,
program, because it's its own standalone certification. But
right.
it's the same idea. It's a bunch of volunteers that have gone through, been certified in order to do those kind of yard inspections.
Right. And this is an initiative of the Maryland, Sustainable Maryland program. We actually will get points in our certification this year for having this program in effect. And like I said, we may not have anyone ever take advantage of it, but, and then again, we may.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah.
Almost.
It's beekeeping. I actually got suited up when I was judging in Lewisburg, West Virginia. They took us out to a residential place where they had beehives, multiple beehives. He smoked the beehive, actually put us in the suits, and we actually got to go out and comb honey out of the beehive. It was quite extraordinary and very cool. The bees don't really come after you, obviously, if you're doing everything the way that you're supposed to. So I was impressed. Not something I want to do, but I can understand those folks that do want to do it.
Experience.
Is there anything about doing this like for commercial purposes that we might want to consider in the ordinance? Because I don't know a whole lot about beekeeping, but I would imagine some people might want to do it so that they can sell the honey.
Good thinking.
Yeah, we are limiting the number of beehives. So you can't have a commercial. I don't think you could have a commercial
Mass
production if you didn't have a bunch of beehives.
Right, okay.
Very good question.
Hey, does Eco Farm still have their beehive?
I believe they do, Mr. Johnson. Clear back in the
Mr.
very
Johnson.
back, clear back in the back corner.
Right.
All right. Betsy's trying to get in. So any more questions or concerns about it? All right. Very good, very good. So so next week we will be voting on that ordinance?
Yes,
Next
that'll be
week.
the first
It'll be
reading.
the introduction?
Correct. And
Okay.
the chair of the Green Team, Maggie Pooley, will be there to discuss with you.
Okay. So really, it won't be a vote. It'll just be the introduction of it.
Well, yeah, you still vote though.
Vote on it. Okay,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Oh, to move it forward, right. Okay,
Correct.
thank you. That was a slow moment. All right, thank you.
It's all right.
All right, so the next item is the job description for our admin manager to be changed to the administrative assistant 2. And Chief Gibson, you're here and you want to kind of explain that change to us, and so we can make a decision next week on it.
First of all, let me say good evening to all of you on the call. I certainly appreciate everybody taking the time out to come in that we might discuss the city's, the town's business. As most of you are aware, our administrative manager has indicated that she's moving on and her last day is Wednesday, February the 9th. The police department was putting together the vacancy announcement, and I just had opportunity to go through the announcement, looking at all the language in it. And I noticed after finishing the language, and I think Rod posted it for your information, there was nothing written in the position description that spoke to any management duties or responsibilities. And so I just raised the issue with Rod, we talked about it, and we thought we would table it because I know that some of you had an opportunity to discuss it last year. I think it was March or April of 2020 when you decided to call the position administrative manager. And so we just wanted to put it to the body and have a decision made. And like I said before, there were no duties or responsibilities that required this position to manage any function or individuals. So we're here, and the only thing that we are proposing is that the title be changed to Administrative Assistant 2. And that's for your information and consideration.
And Chief, also, because it is a part of the job description, that's why the council needs to approve that change. And also, aren't you reducing the salary ranges from what it had been?
Well, I proposed a range of 43 to 47, I believe. And if I'm not mistaken, the initial range was flat at 47, absent, cost of living and other things that would occur on July 1 of each fiscal period. So yes, a person who would come into this proposed position, Administrative Assistant 2, would start out, depending upon experience, anywhere from $43,000 to $47,000 a year. So yes, that's right, Ron.
Thank you.
Is there any particular reason why you selected Administrative Assistant 2 as opposed to Administrative Assistant or Administrative Assistant 1? Is it consistent with something else?
Not particularly. Like I said, this position that the title, that's all we're talking about, not language in the position description. It just had a lot to do. You could leave the 2 off. I just added it because it allowed you to build, like say, if the person did an exemplary job over time, we would take them to 1. They would have some opportunity for growth as opposed to just being in a position where you didn't have something that would allow it to,
I think that was,
time.
I think then that would be a 1, and then they would grow to a 2, as opposed to being a 2 and grow to a 1. Did you say it backwards? Is that what I heard?
Well, I said 2. If 1 is the highest you could attain, then yes, you go from 2 to 1 as opposed to 2 to 3 or something. So that's why I say that I wanted to give growth. So if growth is 3, then that's what we would be talking about. And say Administrative Assistant 1 would be an entry level position where we would start the person at 43, and then they could go up. So
okay, so here this is where I am. I'm okay with what you're doing. It makes so much sense. Changing that from manager to an administrative assistant position. But what I would like to see with the agreement of the council is the job description of an entry level job description, as well as this job description that you have. And the verbiage just has to change slightly, because all we have would be a 2. So that means that should a position come available, the only thing we have is a 2. We don't have a place for someone to start. So there's no start, there's a middle, and really you can create a finish, you can create a 3 because they're doing a good job. But there was no start. You started at a 2. just like it started at a manager and look where we are,
Right.
you know? So we need a administrative assistant position or administrative one position, and then we have the two.
We can certainly do that. That's not a problem.
Yeah, and it won't be rewriting anything, just taking out some of the responsibilities.
Right.
And I
Um,
open the floor to council if there are any comments. Chief, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that if you're going to increase the duties of an administrative assistant 3, the pay rate would go up.
No,
Or in 1, the pay rate would be less. It would be something, if we were to hire a person as an administrative assistant 1, there would be an opportunity for growth, but there are more duties associated with 2 than 1, and then 3 would have more duties than 2.
I'm not saying at all to create a 3. I'm saying we don't have to create a 3. I'm just saying because there is a 2, that there should be a beginning, like a 1 or an administrative assistant. That's it.
That's fine. We can, Rod and I can get together, put some language together based on 2, and then we'll propose.
Just take away, yeah, it's just taking away some of the responsibilities, making it entry level.
We can do that.
And I welcome the comments from council, if there are any. Cool. Hillary?
I'm just gonna
Miss
say, it
Chester.
seems like as it's currently written, there are some tasks in there where the person is, analyzing data and coming up with trends and identifying trends and making kind of an analysis, sort of looking at reports or incidents and then making inferences from that. And maybe those are the kind of duties that they would contribute to those in a 1, or whatever the lowest one is. At the entry level, they're contributing to that kind of work, and that as they're progressing, then they are kind of managing, as it says in there, or they're doing the analysis more independently. And maybe that's a way to distinguish
The entry from the.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Very good. Thank you, Chief. Any more on that, Chief?
So I guess the question is, are we in favor of changing the name from administrative manager to administrative assistant 2?
Absolutely. I think we're in agreement with that.
Okay. All right. Got it.
It will be on the agenda next week for formal action to change that.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
So the next item is Chief, just stay on board.
All right. Over the last month or so, the Edmonston Police Department has been looking at the purchase of a marked police vehicle that coincides with fiscal year 2022 spending. And so we've proposed that the police department be allowed to purchase a Ford SUV marked police vehicle with all the equipment that normally comes on these marked vehicles, including striping and the docks for the computer and lamps and all the other things that are mentioned in the proposal. And we just respectfully requesting favorable consideration be given. We have one vehicle that is unmarked that has around 135,000 miles on it. And we intend to move it along and bring this vehicle in. And one of the things that we have to consider now is that with the number of uniformed officers that we have to have an extra marked vehicle in the event vehicles in the shop, vehicle gets in an accident, or some other event occurs which would put a vehicle out of service. And then we would have an extra vehicle. So obviously we would put the new vehicle in service, and the oldest vehicle would become the surplus vehicle to use when the other vehicle may be, out of service. So we're proposing the purchase of a new Ford SUV. That's it.
Okay. Any comments from council? Any questions about this vehicle? What we're gonna do with it?
Is it possible to get a hybrid? Are they high performance enough nowadays? Part of our green town.
Yes, any vehicle, is possible, but they don't make the hybrid, in my opinion, with the police package. And that's the heavy duty suspension and engine and brakes and all those other things. Now, I can certainly research that, but generally you don't find it in the police package.
Mhm, mhm.
Would it be possible to, I just feel like every budget cycle, we're purchasing a new police vehicle, and maybe that's par for the course, but could we at least have maybe a review of like the vehicles purchased over the last 5 years, or maybe that'll be included in the budget items as part of like the capital expenditures, because I know the leases for those are things that we're making ongoing payments on. But I just want to make sure we're aware of like what our expenditures have been in this space.
Mhm.
Okay. We can certainly do that. We keep a running log every 30 days of each of our vehicles, to include the mileage, the make and the model, and the year of the car, so that you can see when we purchased the car, how long it has been in the department's inventory. Now, one of the things that has happened in the last 12 months is we have more police officers now, sworn members, than we've had in the history of the police department. I don't know if you all actually thought about that. And I had to ask the question because, I didn't know what was going on in, 2010 or the year 2000 or so. We never had 7 sworn officers. And so each officer has been assigned a vehicle. And so purchasing a new vehicle each year is not out of sorts based on the amount of wear and tear and mileage that these vehicles have gotten over time. And the capital outlay shows that we are pretty consistent, because one of the things that I look at when I start to do it, make a determination about purchasing a vehicle, is what will this vehicle be doing as it relates to the oldest vehicle that we have in the fleet. And some police departments have a mileage gauge, like when the number of miles reaches in a lot of jurisdictions, say around 80,000 police department miles, they look to survey it and they bring in new cars when it gets to that point. And, we don't normally here at Edmonston do that. It's just that when some vehicles start to have a lot of vehicle maintenance, the hose are bursting frequently, and all these other kinds of things that can happen to a car go over time, that's when we start looking, because we have to be able to, I was going to use a police code, but we have to be able to go in service and patrol throughout the town. So We can provide that information, Ms. Turberville, for your information and consideration, so.
Councilmember Turberville, this will be our 4th lease purchase vehicle currently. We have 3 lease purchase vehicles we're paying on. Started with the 2018 Tahoe, and then we have 2 more after that, and then this one will be the 4th one. We typically do them for a 5-year period of time on the lease, and so that's why it appears and seems like we're buying one approximately every year. Sometimes we have skipped a couple of years. We went from a 2015 to a 2018 period of time when we didn't have anything. So yes, in the budget book that comes out, it lists out all the fleet and their model, and you also get a copy of the lease purchases. I'm happy to provide that again ahead of this one, so you know where you stand. But,
that answers. Thank you. That answers my question, and Chief, I appreciate your response too. I have one last question, and that's, you know, given that our police have been like first responders during the pandemic, have been working during the pandemic, is it possible that this could be something that could be covered by our CARES Act funding?
Yes, I just sat in on a webinar Wednesday last week. The Treasury Department has issued new guidance on the category under where lost revenue, where we were going to have to prove over a very convoluted process how much revenue we lost each year. We now can take a one-time election, if $10 million or less, that we take that election, it opens those funds up to be used for a very long list of things: road improvement, sidewalks, general service, facilities, police, public safety, police, fire. We could actually purchase the vehicle outright using recovery funds that we have on hand, for that matter, according to the new guidelines. The guidelines just were reviewed recently, and now I just joined a hotline so that I can ask specific questions to the state recovery fund program. They have hired a consultant that is providing that kind of assistance. So the short answer is yes, it's possible, and more details to follow.
Wow. Okay. Tracy's mayor's not going to be surprised at my next question, which is, Rod, can you share that guidance with us? Because we might want to reconfigure some of our thinking around what we were going to do with the recovery funds if we've now got, like before I felt like we were trying to fit a circle into a square peg, and now we might be able to just do some things we wanted to do for a while with the new guidance that's been issued.
Right.
I believe
I'm not surprised.
I believe it was the mayor's intent to continue to have some dialogue about this and figure out where we're going.
Okay.
Because I just told her this week, I also had a webinar with Charlie Griffith. Charlie is the head of the Prince George's County Stormwater Management Division, and he talked to me about some opportunities and options we can use the recovery funds for to help improve our stormwater system. One of those is to actually bring in a jet vac to clean all the drains again. The county came through and did that after the flood, but that should happen on a periodic basis. It's because they have a contract going on with the company. He indicated we could, piggyback onto that contract. It's not terribly expensive, and they can come in and do the drains in just a short period of time, and we get them all cleaned and ready to go again. So yes, we're developing several things to bring back to you in terms of ideas and suggestions. And obviously, if it opens up to facilities, I talked to the mayor about, one of the things you could do is you could add on to the rec center or to the town hall potentially as a result of those funds. So
University Park is looking to do that already. University Park. Yeah.
Now, the caveat, and that's the part that we haven't got off the info on, is that we still got to meet all of the compliance issues of what the Recovery Fund and Act was done for. So one of the reason I had gone down this road, I wanted to take, and I'm going to ask you to approve it next week, our display sign, our electronic display signs that you want to get. I want to be able to take them out of the recovery funds so that we can move forward with the Sunoco one and the portable one for other locations. And so that's what led to that. And then all of a sudden that webinar popped up, and then that even was better. And so I have submitted a specific question about the electronic signs so that I can get that clarified. But it's exciting to know that the Treasury listened and made this modification to make it a little bit more easy for communities to spend some of their dollars.
And then last night, Madeline, so we may be able to get reimbursement for some of the funds that we spent concerning COVID, correct?
Yes, FEMA dollars that she was talking about through public assistance. And one of the things that we're looking into is, as the council member Macaulay had suggested, is an air purification system for town hall. And that is something that potentially FEMA would cover through those public assistance funds. So we're trying to take now, not that they also couldn't be covered through the recovery funds, but we will see. The other thing that the Treasury
was pushing that air filtration system though, wasn't she?
She was.
She picked it up and showed it and everything.
I think it was her company, maybe her company. I don't know.
Yeah.
I had that sense because Bob said something to me. He didn't feel comfortable having her talking about it on the agenda.
Yeah.
But the other fun thing is Treasury is now allowing us to use the recovery funds to match grant dollars for community development block grants that we might apply for, or for the BRIC program that we tried to apply for with the Office of Emergency Management, that it finally just got so far out of our range and over our heads, and we didn't have the dollars to replace the whole storm drain system. We had to back out of, but now we could even use some of those dollars for that too. So it was very exciting. Wednesday, I got very excited listening to what they had made the changes and thinking about the bureaucracy that goes with it. Now, a lot of towns are hiring an expert, a person specifically to do that. We heard that last night. Bladensburg is hiring
we've been hearing it. Yeah.
a manager. Cottage City's hiring a Recovery Act manager person to deal with that.
Many communities have. Yeah. They have millions.
Yes, the ones
Many
that have,
do.
yeah, the one, well, Cottage City wouldn't, but
No.
Bladensburg
But they
definitely
don't have a
does.
town administrator either.
Right. That's kind of what I figured is the reason they were
Mhm.
doing it. But yeah, good questions and good comments, Councilmember Turberville. Thank you.
Ms. Tuberville, do you happen to have bylaws for CDC?
Somewhere. I have a
If you
paper
could see if
version.
you have them somewhere in the cracks
Yeah,
and crevices.
yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Barnes wrote me today. I just need to
Oh, he
go
did?
dig through a closet. Yeah, Nancy doesn't have that?
Well, we're just trying to find other avenues.
Gotcha.
If you do, we're checking with like everyone we know, so.
Yeah, I am hopeful I do yes,
Okay.
cautiously
Do you-
optimistic I will be able to uncover them.
Sarah,
Okay.
do you know when the last time was you had a meeting?
Pre-pandemic for sure.
Yeah, mhm.
Did you have an election of officers?
Prior to this new election, I know that. It was prior to this last election.
Yeah, the last, that's right.
Mhm.
Do you
She
recall?
probably only had one meeting since you've been on, right?
Yeah, there was only one meeting. Can we give me 2 minutes and I can actually give you a specific response to that. I can look it up.
Okay, so we can move to the budget calendar. Mr. Barnes.
Yes, ma'am. It is that time of the year again. I'm so excited. I know you all aren't, but I am very, very excited.
Wait a minute, that's his commercial. Didn't it sound like a commercial? We just changed the channel and there he was.
It's budget time again, and we're very, very pleased because we have some good news in some areas. Chief Gibson and his crew has done a wonderful job of increasing, I hate to say this because it's negative revenue, but increasing vehicle releases and parking ticket revenue, and our red light ticket is going well. So those are all good things, particularly for us, but it's that time of the year. And so what I put together for you was the idea to have sessions, and I've lost my note. I think I sent it out to you on the dates that I proposed. Let me see if I can get it up here. Oh, no, I can't, but I sent it to you. If one of you
Of course you can. Of course you can.
No, when I'm on here like this, I can't access my
Okay.
work computer, and so I saved it on my work computer.
Okay.
But the dates were March 15th, March 22nd, and 29th. Those are all Tuesdays. The 15th would be introduction, presentation, revenues, review, year-end review, all of the information kind of things. And then the General Government and Public Works on the 22nd, and the 29th would be the police department's budget. We would consider and have our public hearing on April 13th, introduction of the ordinance, and then approval of the budget on May 11th with implementation on
You said
July
March 14th?
1st. March 15th.
Oh, 15th. Okay.
15, 22nd, 29. And I know y'all, that might be a lot, so we probably might be able to condense those into 2 instead of 3. That's up to you folks. Or if you want to move one at the last meeting on the 29th of March, move it to your work session for April 5th. That could work too. That would eliminate that meeting. So you just tell me what you like, because I love to have as much discussion as we can, but I understand your time is valuable. March is spring. Spring is going to spring, and
You, Mr. Barnes, I'm sorry. You said the 15th, 29th, and what else?
March 15th, 22nd, and 29th.
22nd and 29th. I'm actually good with that unless there's some issue with that. And could I ask if we could, unless you have something already planned, can we go with that? And if there is an issue, we can opt and say the 15th, 29th, and the 5th. How's that, Ms. Tuberville? Because if we do that, if we break it down like that, we know it doesn't take, it would be less time, right? We won't be there for hours.
As of now, it's fine. What time were we saying, Rod? I'm sorry, I missed that piece.
That's up to you. I was thinking probably starting like 6:30, 7, either one.
Yeah,
I'm good
6:30 would
between
be-
6 and 7, I'm good. So we want to start at 6, I'm good. 6:30, I'm good.
Miss Beth,
6:30 would be my preference if people don't mind, but
Nope, I'm good. Unless Betsy says something, she's good.
30 sounds good.
Okay. So we're gonna go with that. And if we find that we're gonna run into something, then
Okay,
And I'll have the books.
15th, 22nd, 29th.
Yes, I'll have the books out to you by the 1st of March. And so you'll have plenty of time for reviewing and looking, and then before we actually start. So hopefully you may have a list of questions right from get-go. And maybe one of those nights could actually be discussion about the recovery funds as it relates to the items we want to put in the 22-23 budget.
Yeah,
That would be a good connection too. Thank you. Appreciate that.
all right.
Are these gonna be Zoom meetings?
Yes, sir. That was the plan.
Yeah,
Good plan.
Yeah. All right. So, Mr. Barnes, you want to talk about the tree inventory?
Yes, I can get excited about this one too. We have been trying to do a tree inventory for about 6 years. We started out thinking we could do it with volunteers. The problem with that is we're not all experts on what kind of a tree is a tree, and so Bethany, our wonderful Chesapeake Bay, our Chesapeake Conservation Corps member, took this task on. Her capstone project this year is all about trees. She's going to be bringing you a new tree ordinance for updating with the creation of a tree board. She's also going to be doing an event on April 9th with planting trees with a number of organizations throughout the town. And she just today has been working on a new grant to get additional funds to plant even more trees in people's yards and right away. So this again counts towards our Sustainable Maryland recertification in a big way. And so what Bartlett tree experts would come in and do, and it'd take them about a month, they would catalog and record and tag every tree in the public space. So that would be in all of our right-of-ways, on all of our public land, which is the parks. And we would have a list then that would describe what that tree is, what size it is, what's condition, and soil care, tree and shrub work, all of those kinds of things. And then the best part would be that would all be in a program that we could just take over and keep up to date as we remove a tree, as we add a tree, those kinds of things. So very, very excited. It is $5,746. It's a bargain. We got it down to a really bargain. And if you want to know, the estimated number of trees in the right-of-ways is 338 trees. The public works guys actually went out and counted. So again, this is exciting and really going to be helpful for our recertification, also for our American Bloom judging later this summer. It'll be a great activity to have completed. So it'll be on the agenda next week for approval. Unless you have some questions, I will be happy to answer.
Any questions? Nope. I think we all know our lane. Well, thank you, Mr. Barnes.
Just plan on planting trees on April 9th.
Not a problem. All right.
Can I raise one scheduling suggestion for March? Would folks be okay if we combined the work session and the town council meeting to the same Wednesday?
If we do all of the days in March.
Yeah, so like I think we're scheduled for like March 1st for the work session.
Correct.
And then March
Okay.
8th for the, so I'm
Ninth.
wondering if March 9th, so I wondered if for March 9th, if we wanted to just start at
Do it early.
start at 6 and do the work session and then have the town council meeting at 7.
Sounds good. Good thinking.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
You were looking at that. Mr. Barnes was talking trees and you were looking at that calendar.
No, I had that already. I thought of it right as he started talking and I was like, I'm gonna finish talking about the trees.
Well, thank you. That's a good idea. Okay. Well, I don't keep you any longer than I need to. So if anyone else has anything for the good of the order? If not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn this work session.
I move we adjourn.
Second?
I'll
Second
second.
that motion. Oh,
All right, Mr. Johnson, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Uh,
Thank you and good night. Thanks for your time.
good night.
Thank you.
Right.